it turns out that it is a success, then why don't you vote Republican?
Because I don't like the way he's trying to run the country.
Well, isn't the economy like half of his job?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how you split it up.
Well, it's half foreign policy, half domestic policy, and in domestic policy, the most important thing is the economy, and then foreign policy is not getting us defeated in any wars or not doing anything horrendous that harms the rest of the world. So it looks to me like so far he's having a very successful presidency.
There are some successful aspects, but then there are the I could argue, and I should argue as a liberal, that those are kind of accidental aspects, or aspects that, I don't know, like, probably since we're old guys, we know the movie, what was with Chauncey Gardner?
Oh, yeah, the gardener,
the one where Peter
quiet,
Sellers plays
and
a retarded guy who
that impresses
accidentally,
everybody.
Yeah,
because he's an idiot, but he says things that seem profound.
Yeah, he's a magic
Yeah,
idiot.
all right, so I remember.
All right, so I mean, it's possible that that Trump is kind of an idiot who accidentally has good things happen as he's president.
And it's also possible that if you are a socialist and your goal is to make America as much like Venezuela and Cuba as possible, that you can make the economy terrible and you can make America lose wars.
So wait, am I a patriot or am I a socialist?
No, I'm saying that if you're like Obama and you do a lot of things that harm the economy and the United States, and then you get replaced by a guy that actually loves America, he doesn't have to be all that brilliant.
We should probably declare a moratorium on Obama as evil. We're never going to agree.
No, but all I'm saying is, here's the thing. I've noticed that.
But Obama takes.
Wait, I've noticed that this is very significant. Democrats think that because Trump doesn't use a lot of big words, that he can't possibly be a good president. And my feeling is I'd rather have a guy that was on the dumb side but loved America and wanted American business to do well and wanted America to win wars than a guy that was really sophisticated and said all the right things but had a terrible philosophy.
Well, all right,
and I think what we're going to experience under Trump, whether he's bright or not, is the American economy unleashed. That's what he said he was going to do, and guess what? In the first 6 months, everything he said he was going to do has come true.
But a lot of the things, especially unemployment, are straight line continuations of conditions that existed for years under Obama.
Well, here's the problem.
And also, Obama took the Dow from 6,500, which is kind of artificially depressed because everybody was shitting their pants at the time, but still, it was 6,500 to 18,000. Now, obviously, that all wasn't him. The same way that, the Dow going from 18 to 22,000 may or may not be all Trump.
Well, actually, the reason that the economy fell was because banks were being forced by the Democrats to give loans to people that could never pay them back.
No.
Yes.
No. The reason that everything fell is because mortgage lenders found out that they were not going to be thought that they weren't going to be held to account for the integrity of their mortgages. They came up with this scheme to bundle mortgages into mortgage-backed securities and sell them to suckers, and that nobody was checking on whether the people taking out the loans were qualified to be able to pay them back. So it was the mortgage industry found a new way to commit fraud, and they just wildly committed it. Now, we can talk about what political conditions led to that, but it was the mortgage industry going apeshit.
Yeah, and I'm saying it was because people like Barney Frank in the Senate, was it this? Is he a congressman or a senator? Anyway, he wanted to get poor people into homes,
So did Bush. So did President Bush.
but to the extent that they were doing it, they were allowing people to give it to people that couldn't give loans to people that couldn't pay them back.
Barney Frank
they were telling
Barney
banks,
Frank had no idea what was
they
going
were
on
they
with
were
the.
they were telling banks that if they didn't give loans to black people, they were racist.
You know you can give loans to qualified black people. Barney Frank had no idea.
they
nobody
were- I remember-
nobody in
wait.
Congress had any idea of the scale of this fraud.
Okay, I remember actually years ago when they were making these statements about how they had uncovered racism in the banking industry, that if you were a black person and you went in and you tried to get a loan, they wouldn't give it to you because you were black.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, redlining.
Well, they were doing that in order to scare the banks into giving loans to people that couldn't qualify. And so that's what
may
happened.
have been a partial consequence, but it was
Well, but it was deliberate.
So-
It was on purpose, and that's what caused the crash.
not really, no, because you had the mortgage industry engaging on a massive scale in fraudulent practices. I called up to get a home equity line of credit on our house in the middle of this. They were like, yeah, okay, we can give you $400,000. I'm like, so how do I get you my pay stubs and all this stuff that shows that I can? No, don't worry about that. They didn't get any documentation from me. Every time I got an offer in the mail from a credit card company that said, we will give you this credit card for balance transfers at 0%
Yeah.
for 6 months or 9 months or 12, I took every offer.
Okay.
They were loaning people money just so crazily. At one time, I had 17 cards open, and the credit card companies had given me $262,000 at 0% interest, which I took and paid off our mortgage and put in the bank to earn interest, just based on what I told them I was earning with no documentation. The whole banking industry was built on giving people super easy credit, and then it collapsed as it couldn't not collapse. It was crime on such a massive scale.
Okay.
And we can talk about, not really. I mean,
By the way, I just want to interject. Now you know that Rick really is the smartest man in America. Listen to how he paid off his mortgage.
well, I mean, it was great because you could make a deal to get $12,000 in free money for 9 months just by making a phone call.
Yeah, I remember too. Yeah, I agree with you.
And that's, I don't know, I don't think Barney Frank had that in mind when he was trying to get home loans for black people. Or when George W. Bush was so proud that he talked about how we'd reached the highest rate of home ownership in the history of America, and what a great achievement that was.
Yeah, I don't think anybody realized if you stopped them and you said, "Hey, this is going to happen," I don't think they would have done it. But I remember the race baiting that was going on.
Yeah, but that's based on actual shit that happened. Plenty of community. Now, I don't know how prevalent it was into the 90s and into the aughts, but I guess it was still existed to some extent. But it was all over the place in the, from the 70s on into the past. Sorry.
Okay, well, I know that there was racism in the 50s and 60s, but I'm just saying that a lot of people got loans that shouldn't got loans.
Yeah,
because
but that
they were threatening the banks with lawsuits.
No, but maybe at the beginning, but the majority of those shitty
The United
loans.
States was going after banks.
No,
No, they were.
Yeah, no, one person has gone.
discrimination.
One person went to prison for the collapse of 2007
Right,
and
but
8.
that was for being unethical.
Yeah, but the great
I'm
majority
saying
of
they were threatening banks.
yeah, but the great
with
majority.
discrimination.
Okay, sure, but the great majority of shitty loans were because of mortgage companies finding that it was possible to write these fraudulent mortgages, not because maybe at the beginning it started with trying to make it easier for black people to get mortgages, but as it snowballed, it was that was far in the past, and it was just people going loan officers just going batshit and giving people money. So anyway, we should move on because we've hashed this over.
We have.
And cut.